Well, the Yankees season has come to a close. They do finish 82-80 for their 31st straight winning season, but this season was an absolute failure and one in which hopefully leads to some significant changes. Unfortunately, I am skeptical what those changes are, and if I don't know, like there's not a whole lot they can really do from a roster standpoint, in my opinion. And we'll discuss that along the way, and more of a discourse on that in the offseason. We'll talk about this Royals series, which there was a lot of ugly and a lot of things that are pertinent to the future that were just straight up awful. But yeah, I don't want to harp too much on it, but obviously, the Yankees, find a way in ugly fashion to, keep that streak alive. The problem I have with it is I don't want that to be something that the Yankee front office, hangs their hat on and says, hey, we, as bad as things were, there's the Judge injury. I don't want the excuse making. And look, when you have the payroll the Yankees have, you sure as hell should finish above 500. So this was the worst season that I've seen as a fan. And I've been lucky as a fan. I've been a diehard fan. And again, totally coincidental because I was, 7 years old. 1998 was really the first season that I really got into every game. So I've seen a lot of winning, although I haven't seen a World Series appearance since 2009, but I digress. But this was just a complete failure of a season. And that blame really goes to Brian Cashman. Aaron Boone going, let's say he was let go. That's all well and good. That wouldn't change anything, right? Cashman is the problem. So fans will be upset if Boone is back. And in some ways it'll be frustrating. I get it. But Cashman is the problem. Cashman and company. And therefore Hal is a problem because Hal allows this to exist. And this is a broken setup. It's a broken setup that needs major, major changes. And Aaron Judge, look, give him credit. He's been very vocal about the fact that this does need to change. That is encouraging. He is the most important player. Him and Garrett Cole are the two most important people, honestly, in this organization. Judge, when it comes to Hal Steinbrenner, Aaron Judge, his opinion should matter more than Brian Cashman's. I mean, honestly, Brian Cashman is replaceable. Aaron Judge is not. And so what he says should be taken with a lot of thought and consideration. So let's talk about this series. We'll kind of bounce around. Happy the season is over. Honestly, getting through this season was quite the task. And September had its interesting moments. But man, did it have its lulls. Hopefully 2024 will be better, but I have my doubts. Very much so. So Yankees, Royals they almost had the most losses in franchise history, but avoided that. So I guess that must have meant that they must have tied it. Either they avoided tying their worst record ever or losses ever, or avoided standalone worst. So, in terms of other achievements or that's not an achievement, but Bobby Witt did not get his 50th steal. So that was something to look at. And he got caught a couple of times. But really the big story of this series is fucking Carlos Rodón. Wow. And I'm happy that this happened. He ends up recording 0 outs in the first game, allows 8 runs, 6 hits and 2 walks. This guy has been a fucking joke all season. Finishes with a 6.85 ERA. Talk about a year one just complete failure. And I'm sorry, I think that there should be major, major concerns moving forward. Could he turn it around? Yes. I'm not giving up on this, but wow, there are red flags all over the place here. And not for nothing, just straight disrespect towards Matt Blake. Where, I know you're frustrated, but you just turn your back on him? Come on, man. Matt Blake is actually one of the few bright spots of this Yankee organization. You may as well listen to what he has to say. Carlos Rodón finishes 3-8, just wow. And it's a bad look on Brian Cashman. And I'm not going to completely rip him because, hey, I did like the idea of Carlos Rodón. So, it's not fair to me. That is not something that at first I said, oh, you can't get him. I didn't say that. But hey, like I said about Rodón, I'm not the GM. So fair or unfair, like, hey, you're the one making these calls, Brian Cashman, and boy, was that a bad one. I'm not going to call it yet, but I think that when this 6-year contract is up, we're going to look back at this one and just say, this is another one of those horrible Brian Cashman pitching signings. It happens. It's happened many, many years. The last 20 years, there have been many examples of this. And so Rodón, what an embarrassment. Who, a guy who was actually kind of doing all right lately, now ends up finishing out the season with the ugly numbers that he deserves. I'm happy that this happened because you know what? They need to work with him big time. So Rodón is the big story in game one. Like I said, the Yankees the first 10 Royal batters reached base. That includes 8 versus Rodón and then 2 versus Matt Bowman. So the Yankees got annihilated here. The Royals put up a 9 spot in the first inning. We'll go through each one. Just as far as lineup stuff, Giancarlo Stanton was out all 3 games of this series. I thought that was somewhat interesting. I mean, no one really talked about it, but Stanton didn't play any of the 3 games. And in this one, LeMahieu sat the first one, so Jake Bauers played first base. Nothing else really of note here. I think Judge DH'd all 3 games, I believe. I don't think he played the field for any of them. Maybe game 2, but I'm pretty sure it was DH. Not DH the whole way through. He didn't play game 3. We'll talk about that game 3 lineup. It was pretty ugly, but yeah. So let's talk about the first inning here. And as far as, there were moves. Let me just talk about some transactions that did take place. I kind of want to slow build it, but the moves that happened here were 2 that I think I had kind of spoke about going into, like, in the last Blue Jay episode. They activated Keenan Middleton from the IL. He would appear in the first game and struggled, but Middleton, again, showed himself well. We'll see what his future is. He's going to be a free agent. And they sent down Yoendris Gomez, who had made his major league debut the night before. And then before the second game, Frankie Montas did come back. We'll talk about this. And he made his season debut. Really weird situation. And they sent down Randy Vasquez, who had pitched in game 1. And in order to get Montas on the roster, on that active roster, it was a move that meant nothing, but Jason Dominguez was transferred to the 60-day IL. Again, didn't mean anything. But yeah, so first inning, let's get into it. Maikel Garcia single, Bobby Witt walk, Salvador Perez 2-run double, Edward Alvarez 2-run homer, Velasquez single, Lofton single, Matt Duffy RBI single, steal by Lofton, walk by Logan Porter, and Rodon's out of the game. Just insane. These numbers were horrible. Injuries, everything. That is just one of, out of all the bad things that Brian Cashman did, that is up there with the worst. You just have to say it. And it's not for lack of want or effort, right? He tried. I'll give him that. He tried, but he was wrong. And Rodón has a lot to prove. I think Yankee fans, that will be public enemy number 1 going into next season, I think. As I look at this, right? You got, the Gallos are gone, the Donaldsons, the Hicks, gone. So I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Of course, there's always Stanton, who is always going to, that's always going to be someone. But Rodón, I think, honestly, the first bad start of next season, let's say it's Yankee Stadium, let's say first week, and he, he's out in the 3rd or 4th inning, he will be booed off the mound big time. That's where it's at. Fans don't, and they shouldn't. He acted like a jackass all fucking season. I wanted to like this guy a lot. He is one of my most hated players on this team. So Matt Bowman comes on, and you know what? Deservedly so, gives up Rodon's runs. RBI double, 2-run double for Kyle Isbell, and then eventually you get a sac fly by Bobby Witt, which was the first out recorded of the inning. Crazy stuff. One of the ugliest innings I've ever seen. And the Royals take a 9-0 lead. We'll try to, swim through this the rest of the way. Randy Vasquez pitched a lot. He was the bolt guy, as it turned out. And Vasquez does give up a run in the 3rd. An RBI ground out by Salvador Perez. In the 4th inning, one of the bright spots down the stretch, Austin Wells hits a 3-run homer. With 1 out, cuts it to 10-3. It's his 4th homer of the year. Wells showed out pretty well. So I am pretty happy about that. Where Wells for a while was kind of like, I don't know. By the end of it, I'm actually feeling pretty good about him. And I do think that with a good spring training, or even just a decent spring training, I think he's going to be one of your two catchers going next season. If he struggles, I don't think he should be given it. But I do think that he kind of has a leg up right now. Pretty impressive showing for him on both sides of the plate. Fifth inning, you get an RBI ground up by Everson Pereira after a leadoff double by Oswald Peraza. Oswaldo Cabrera with a lot of bunts. I don't hate it, but it's also a little bit weird. So a lot of sack bunts for Oswaldo, which happened in that inning. Sixth inning, same sort of thing. You get a leadoff double by Judge, eventually leading to an RBI ground up by Wells. So 4 RBIs for Wells in this one. In the sixth, Zach McAllister finishes out the inning after Vasquez is replaced. Bottom of the seventh, Keenan Middleton comes on and struggles, and he gives up a 2-run homer to Bobby Witt. So Bobby Witt, with his 30th homer of the year, gives the Royals a 12-5 lead. And then in the eighth, Nick Ramirez comes on, throws a scoreless eighth inning. Yankees lose 12-5. And again, the story is Rodón. Just an absolute embarrassment. So game 2, the Yankees still searching for, that above 500 winning season, and they do get it in game 2. They do get it in game 2. Clark Schmidt was the starter for the Yankees. Clark ended up, it was a struggle to end the season for Clark. He really, really had a rough go of it. And I like what he did in the middle of the season. I think it's impressive that he finished the season from start to finish in the rotation. I think in part it speaks to that there were injuries and struggles in the rotation. I think he might have been pulled. I think in April and May, he might have gotten yanked, but because of everything else that was around him, he stood around and did a nice job. Here, 4 innings, 2 runs, which is tolerable. But the point is, he can't really give you. He's bad third time through, and just pitch efficiency, he doesn't really get you through 5. So they got to work on that. To me, Clark Schmidt is a back end of the rotation guy currently. This is a 5th to 6th guy in a rotation, with shades of gray. But I think that that's basically where he belongs. Lineup wise, LeMahieu back in there. Volpe on the bench for this one. He would come in and pinch it for Jake Bowers. So not a whole else to speak of there. Higgy gets his start at catcher. Now, he did start at DH in the last game. This may have been Higgy's last catcher appearance here. I feel like the future for Higgy is a little bit bleak, but, we'll see what happens there. So it's Clark Schmidt starting against the opener for the Royals was Steven Cruz. And then the bulk guy for the Royals was Alec Marsh, who Marsh struggled versus the Yanks. Yankees got a lot of 2-out singles, which you don't really see from them, but they did get him a bunch in this one. Royals take the lead in the first off of Schmidt. An RBI single by Nelson Velasquez with 2 out. Then in the third inning, you get a solo shot by Salvador Perez, his 23rd homer of the season, after Bobby Witt had been caught stealing by Kyle Higashioka. Witt, eager for that 50th, still didn't get it. Then in the fourth, a couple of walks to Glaber and Bowers with no out. Then with 2 out, Oswaldo Cabrera RBI single and Everson Pereira RBI single. So both of the young kids, with a couple of RBI singles, makes it 2-2. And then in the fifth, Frankie Montas comes on. It was actually a good 5th inning for him. A 2-out walk, but beyond that, got the job done with 3 groundouts. So, Montas with a good 5th inning. And Montas actually would get the win because the Yankees break out in the 6th. A 2-out RBI single by Esteban Florial off of the new pitcher Colin Snyder. And then Glaber Torres, bases loaded, 2-out with a 2-run single to make it 5-2. Glaber ends up the season with an 800 OPS flat. So that's good. I like the offensive side was good for Glaber. The defensive and, just brain farts still there and not good for Glaber this season. 6th inning, Montas gets into trouble. Massey single, Blanco double, and then he does strike out Logan Porter. So Montas leaves, and he's fortunate because Greg Weissert showed pretty well. Out of the relievers, Weissert actually, I thought down the stretch pitched a lot better than I've ever seen him. So that could be something that they tap into. He got a couple of strikeouts to end the inning, Prado and Garcia. So Montas ends up going 1 1/3, gets the win, no runs allowed. But I would not bring him back. I hope that doesn't happen. It seems like it is crazily a possibility. And to me, that's just almost stubbornness on Cashin's part. If they do that, I would walk away from this, move on. It didn't work out, and just go. So 5-2 Yanks. And that would be the final score. Seventh inning, you get a leadoff walk, Weiser, and then Ian Hamilton comes on, finishes out that seventh inning, does a good job, and pitches the eighth inning as well. So Ian Hamilton, who was another bright spot this season, in the ninth inning, it'll be Clay Holmes, who gets his final save of the season, 1-2-3 inning. Good job by Clay Holmes this year. After last year was amazing in the first half, bad in the second half for Clay. There were some struggles at times this year, but I'd say it was a mostly positive season for him. And we'll see what his role is going next year, but I'm sure he will definitely be a part of that bullpen. So the Yankees win 5-2. You know, I just realized this is another example. The Yankees lost game 3 5-2. I think in the last 3 series, you had similar scores but flipped. Yankees, Diamondbacks, I think you had like games 1 and 2 were the same score, I think, or close to, but the opposite in terms of Yankees won 1, the opponent won 1. We saw that in the Blue Jays series with games 2 and 3, and then again here in 2 and 3. Really wacky stuff. But anyway, Yankees, this lineup in game 3 was really bad. And the one shitty thing that happened in game 3 is Michael King didn't pitch well. It doesn't change the overall thought, right? King, will be a part of that rotation. Zach Greinke, in what might have been his last start as a major leaguer, he didn't announce his retirement, but he's getting up there in age. Greinke ends up, going 5 innings. He does allow 1 run, as who was it? The Royal reliever Taylor Clark allows I think it was leadoff walk to LeMahieu, and that run scores. But Greinke, if that was it, it was a nice outing. He finishes the season 2-15. He didn't get much run support, but he also didn't pitch very well either. But 2-15 is a little misleading. He was better than that, but still. Yankee lineup here. So no, like I said, no Stanton for all 3, no Glaber, no Judge, and was there another one of, I think, no, that was really the only significant ones that were out. So Kalagashioka ends up batting cleanup and is the DH. It feels like, I don't know, with Higgy, it feels like it's going to be done. I don't know, just reading like the quotes and stuff. Even though he's not a free agent, it just feels like, I don't know, Trevino, Wells might be the combo and Higgy kind of is the one that goes. And look, that could end up being a mistake. I got to be honest. Higgy, like offensively, is very serviceable. Now, unfortunately, he's solid defensively, but he isn't great. I've come to find that like Trevino is definitely a lot better defensively. Whereas there was a time when I thought, you know what, the difference isn't large. It was more because we were comparing it from Higgy to Sanchez. When you make that comparison, anyone's going to look amazing defensively. So that's part of it. But, we'll see what Higgy's future holds. But Michael King, unfortunately, does struggle in this one. After just being sensational. Since being a starter, he only goes 4 innings, allows 8 hits, and gives up 4 runs and only gets 1 strikeout. So his ERA on the season finishes up at 2.75, which is still fantastic, but not a great one here. MJ Melendez homers in the second, his 16th homer. It's off of King, makes it 1-0, and then single by Blanco with 2 out. He's still second, and Nick Prado with an RBI single. 2-0 Royals at this point. Then in the third, Bobby Witt gets picked off, which was kind of funny. And then in the 4th inning, Edward Olivares homers, his 12th homer of the year, and then Darian Blanco, he homers. So King allows 3 homers in this one. So 4-0 Royals at this point. Johnny Brito comes on, and again, Brito continues that, like, he did well here again. He ends up going 3 innings. He gives up a leadoff triple to Bobby Witt in the 5th, which was kind of more of a bad play by Oswaldo, and then a sac fly by Sal Perez makes it 5-0. But Brito goes 3 innings, 3 hits, that 1 earned run, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. So really finishes out the year very strong, and I'm excited to see what Brito might bring to the table next year, probably in more of a bullpen role, and I guess as a depth starter. So leadoff walk LeMahieu in the 6th, and Greinke's out of the game. They give him a standing ovation in Kansas City. Taylor Clark comes on, and you get an Austin Wells 1-out double. And then with 2 out, 2nd and 3rd, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa with a 2-run single makes it 5-2. I should have mentioned Higgy had bases loaded, no out in the 1st, and hit a double play. He also had a chance here, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, and flies out to shallow left. And Higgy, he did double at one point, though. So IKF 2-run single, and what was probably IKF's, I would assume IKF will be gone. And not, he's a free agent, so IKF in his last game as a Yankee, in all likelihood, gets a 2-run single. And then Oswaldo flies out. Let's jump to the, 8th? Yeah, let's jump, Austin Wells doubles in the 8th inning. So again, Austin Wells 3 for 4 with 2 doubles in this game. So Wells finishes out with a 229 batting average and a 743 OPS. Not terrible based on where he was. That doesn't look so bad. So a good final, that 1 month for Austin Wells, did a nice job. I wish we could have seen more of Jason Dominguez. So, Greg Weissert pitches a good 8th inning. I mean, he's been getting a lot of work. And so Weissert, his final ERA of the season ends up being 4.05. Let's see what the whip is and some other stuff. Whip's pretty bad, 1.45. But like I said, like lately though, that's because of a lot of what he had done in previous stints. Lately, it's a lot better than that. So we'll see. And the 9th inning Yankees go down easily. And yeah, they lose 5-2. Fitting way to end the season with a loss, although technically they had a winning season. And that's it. So happy this is over with, honestly. Hate to say that, but it's true. And yeah, 2023, not good for the Yankees. We'll see what changes are made next year. I'm not really sure what they'll do, but I also think that, Cashman will be back. I think Boone will be back. It sounds like Sean Casey might be back. And they got to get creative somehow. I don't think that really spending is the answer. I think shrewd trades and, you got to build through the farm. Unfortunately, it's not the fun way, but I feel like you got to kind of cut the dead weight somehow. And I don't think there's an easy solution here. I think the Yankees might be a team that, you look to next year and I don't know, maybe they surprise, right? Maybe I think this will be a low expectation team next year. I think that, look, the division's strong and I don't think much good will happen. But again, my opinion could change. Maybe this offseason goes differently than I see it. I think that there will be some big moves that happen, but I don't necessarily think that. I think more so in subtraction somehow. Maybe an unforeseen move like to get rid of someone than necessarily to bring in a star. We will see though. It'll be one of the more interesting off seasons we've seen in some time. So again, Yankees lose the final series of the season versus the Kansas City Royals. However, they do, in a failure of a season, they still do get their 31st straight winning record of a season. They finish at 82-80. Let's see what the offseason brings. This Yankee season is over.